Alright, before we go any further, I need you to stay with me for just a moment, because what you're about to hear is not the version of the Greenland story most people know. This is not about ice or snow or some wild real estate joke that went viral for a week and then disappeared. This is about power, security, money, and a global chessboard that most Americans never see. And once you understand why the United States really wants Greenland, you'll realize this issue was never random, never accidental, and it's not over, not even close. For decades, Greenland sat quietly on the map, massive in size but mostly ignored in political conversation. It looked empty, frozen, distant. But in Washington, Greenland has always been something else entirely. It has been watched, studied, and quietly treated as one of the most strategically important places on Earth. The reason most people didn't hear about it is simple. When something is truly valuable, powerful governments don't advertise it. They move slowly, carefully, and behind closed doors. Greenland is technically an autonomous territory of Denmark, but geography doesn't care about legal paperwork. Greenland sits right between North America and Europe, planted directly in the Arctic corridor that connects the world's biggest military and economic powers. Any missile traveling between Russia and the United States passes over or near the Arctic. Any advanced satellite system designed to detect threats relies on Arctic positioning. And right in the middle of all that is Greenland. The United States figured this out long before the public ever did. During World War II, when Denmark was occupied by Nazi Germany, the US stepped in to defend Greenland. That moment quietly locked Greenland into America's strategic orbit. Not because of ideology, not because of friendship, but because of location. From that point forward, Greenland became a pillar of US defense planning, even if Americans never heard its name. Fast forward to the Cold War, and Greenland's importance only grew. The Arctic became the shortest route for nuclear weapons. Early warning radar systems were placed there. Air bases were built. Intelligence infrastructure expanded. The US wasn't guessing. It knew that whoever controlled the Arctic would have a massive advantage in any global conflict. And Greenland was the crown jewel. Then the Cold War ended, and for a while it looked like Greenland might fade back into obscurity. The Soviet Union collapsed, tensions cooled, budgets shifted. But history has a way of circling back, and today we are watching that circle close faster than most people realize. Here's the first reason the US wants Greenland, and it's non-negotiable: military dominance. The US already operates Thule Air Base, now called Pichafik Space Base in northwest Greenland. This base is not just another outpost. It is a critical node in America's missile defense system. It tracks ballistic missile launches. It supports space surveillance. It helps protect the US homeland from attack. Losing influence over Greenland would mean weakening that entire defensive shield. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Washington does not like relying on anyone else when it comes to national security, even allies. Denmark is a close partner, but partners change governments, change priorities, and face internal pressures. From a purely strategic standpoint, direct US control or at least unquestioned influence removes uncertainty. And in military planning, uncertainty is the enemy. But military power is only one piece of the puzzle. The second reason the US wants Greenland is resources that could redefine global supply chains. Greenland sits on massive reserves of rare earth minerals. These materials are essential for modern technology: smartphones, electric vehicles, fighter jets, missile systems, wind turbines, and advanced electronics. Right now, China dominates rare earth processing. That is a strategic vulnerability the US desperately wants to eliminate. Greenland offers an alternative, a huge one. And as climate change melts ice that once made mining impossible, those resources are becoming more accessible. Washington sees this clearly. Control or influence over Greenland means reducing dependence on China, securing supply chains, and maintaining technological leadership. This is not hypothetical. This is already shaping policy. The third reason is shipping and trade. As Arctic ice melts, new shipping lanes are opening. Routes that once took weeks through the Suez Canal could be shortened dramatically by Arctic passages. Whoever controls key Arctic points will influence global trade. Greenland sits right next to those emerging routes. That alone makes it priceless. Now, this is where things start to get uncomfortable for traditional diplomacy. In 2019, Donald Trump publicly floated the idea of buying Greenland. The media treated it like a joke. Late-night hosts laughed. Headlines mocked it. European leaders scoffed. But inside Washington's national security circles, no one was laughing, because the idea itself wasn't crazy. The way it was said was unconventional, but the underlying logic had existed for decades. Denmark's response was immediate and firm. Greenland was not for sale. Period. Greenland's own leaders echoed that sentiment, emphasizing autonomy and self-determination. Trump responded by canceling a state visit to Denmark, turning a quiet strategic issue into a public diplomatic rift. But here's what most people missed. While the public argued about tone and optics, the policy continued. The U.S. opened a consulate in Greenland for the first time in decades. Investment initiatives increased. Diplomatic engagement deepened. Washington didn't back off. It adjusted its approach. At the same time, Greenland itself began pushing harder for independence from Denmark. This matters. An independent Greenland would need security guarantees, economic partners, and investment. The U.S. would be the most obvious choice. Washington knows this. And Denmark knows this too. Meanwhile, China started knocking. Chinese companies showed interest in Greenlandic airports, mining projects, and infrastructure. For Washington, this crossed a red line. The idea of Chinese influence so close to U.S. territory was unacceptable. The U.S. stepped in quietly, blocking deals and offering alternatives. This wasn't ideological. It was strategic containment. Russia too has expanded its Arctic military presence, reopening bases, testing weapons, and asserting territorial claims. The Arctic is no longer a frozen afterthought. It is becoming one of the most militarized regions on Earth, and Greenland sits right in the middle of it. So when you hear that the U.S. wants Greenland, understand this. It's not about ownership in the traditional sense. It's about access, alignment, and control over the future of the Arctic. It's about ensuring that Greenland's trajectory aligns with U.S. interests rather than drifting toward rivals. Greenland's people are caught in the middle of this. Many want economic growth, greater autonomy, and eventual independence. But independence is expensive. Infrastructure, healthcare, defense, and education all require funding. Denmark currently provides significant financial support. Replacing that support means finding a powerful partner. Washington understands this leverage. At the same time, Greenlandic leaders are wary of becoming a pawn in a global power struggle. They want investment without domination, security without loss of identity. This tension defines every negotiation happening right now. What makes this moment different from the past is speed. Climate change is accelerating access to the Arctic faster than institutions can adapt. Military planners are racing. Economies are repositioning. Diplomats are scrambling to keep up. And Greenland is no longer optional in those calculations. The U.S. knows that if it doesn't solidify its position now, someone else will. And once influence is lost in a region like the Arctic, it is almost impossible to regain without confrontation. This is why Greenland keeps coming back into the conversation, not because of one president, not because of one headline, but because the fundamentals haven't changed. If anything, they've become more urgent. So the next time you hear someone dismiss the Greenland issue as a joke or a distraction, remember this. Serious power struggles rarely announce themselves with explosions or speeches. They unfold quietly, over years, through bases, contracts, alliances, and pressure. Greenland is not the future. Greenland is the present. And the United States is acting accordingly. Because in a world where the next major conflict may be decided before the first shot is fired, geography still matters. And Greenland may be the most important place most people have never really thought about.